We are the guardians of peace and justice. Beyond the stars is a near endless frontier. Our order was meant to shine its light in even the darkest corners of the galaxy. There, we found an evil that none of us had trained for, that threatens all we know. For the survival of the Republic, the fate of all Jedi, for control of the Force itself.
Oh, welcome back to Dadnarok High Republic. I mean, high voltage. This is Sean.
And this is Chris. Well, what an opening. Wow. I mean, can you guys guess what we're going to be talking about?
Gee, I don't know. What are we talking about?
I think we're talking about
really, actually, what are we talking about? Because you know more about this than I do.
You really don't know. This is gonna be fun because I'm the one that's really deep into this.
Yeah.
And you're the one that's kind of well, you don't know actually, to be fair, you don't know a whole lot of the novels yet. A lot of the new novels.
I haven't read a single new novel, no.
And I'm like chin deep in all of it.
Yeah. You're like, dude, Thrawn is the best. Just
we were just talking about this before we even got going, and this isn't gonna have anything to do with Thrawn.
I know.
And I'm like, dude, if Thrawn, when the Chiss Ascendancy went up against the Empire, I don't think the Empire would have stood a chance until Vader and Palpatine may have showed up. That would have been the only upper hand.
Yeah, that was something else. So we opened up with the trailer of the Star Wars: The High Republic, which is a new initiative from Disney, Star Wars, Lucasfilm, to basically start a new saga within the Star Wars, kind of a new timeline within the Star Wars galaxy. I mean, we've been dealing with the Skywalker saga for so long, from books that take place before the Phantom Menace all the way through post Return or Revenge of the, I don't know, what was the last one? Skywalker, Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. Wow, that really left a mark on us, didn't it?
Yeah, boy. Okay, yeah. But anyway, those 9 movies were kind of they're moving past that, or trying to anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to move on at some point. You have to make a conscious effort and be like, okay, we milked this for as much as we can get out of it.
Right.
And now, I mean, there's a certain point that you can't get anything more out of it, and it's just going to become bad. Yeah. And they were, well, some would say it just went bad. I mean, the milk, your blue milk went bad on you.
Boiled.
Yeah. So, I mean, they had to move on. I wish they actually went forward in time.
Yeah.
Because we don't know anything forward. There's a lot of like legend stuff that is backwards.
Right.
And I think what they were doing in hindsight, what they were doing when they went backwards is they're retconning a lot of it. They're wiping out the history.
Yeah.
In the back, and then they're going to rebuild it. And I mean, to this point, I'm enjoying it. It's it took some adjusting, honestly, get to know some new Jedi, some new bad guys, not hearing familiar names, not hearing familiar droids. I think it's a good thing. I mean, I like I said, I enjoy it. I've been powering through the books, and I'm waiting for for a few more a few more of them to come out. But
what's it? So it takes place what, like this era, the High Republic? It takes place what, like 500 years pre Skywalker saga?
I want to say 2000. No, it couldn't be that. Couldn't be that far.
Can't be that because Yoda wouldn't be alive.
Yeah. It's a distance in the past. That's the one thing I didn't have lined up. I have everything else lined up. The one thing
we don't even know when we are.
The one thing I did not have lined up is exactly in the timeline of when this takes place prior to episode 1, essentially.
I think this is around 500 years before, because Yoda's supposed to be like in the middle age, like in his prime. We got to him very late in the Skywalker saga. 900 years old he was, and so he'd probably be around 400 or 500, and just kind of like the prime of his life, baby, prime Jedi time.
And we're getting, and he's the only familiar one we're hearing. I mean, we're hearing his name brought up, but we're not. There has been zero interaction. Like, he has not been active in any scene. He hasn't been active in any of the council meetings because he's been out with the Padawans.
Yeah,
he's always been off doing his own thing. He's not, just sitting on Coruscant, hovering, meditating. That's really the only way we really know Yoda in reality.
It's nice to have that one tether, one character that we can go back to. And there may be a few more within the galaxy. I think like Maz Kanata has some age on her. She might be,
Kanata's awesome.
Yeah, it'd be fun if she's actually alive during this time. But that's the thing. It's like a lot of these stories, the novels and stuff, even the animated series, they introduce new characters, sure, but they always give us drops of the classics, here and there. Even the Bad Batch. I mean, we've got Tarkin walking around. Yeah. So they like to connect us to the stuff that we know, to the stuff of the original trilogy, the stuff that we saw on the big screen. So it's nice to have that one tether, but really that's it. Just Yoda, maybe a Maz Kanata. You might see some Hutts, not necessarily Jabba, but some Hutts or something. Like,
I don't even think we're going to be dealing. Right now, I don't think we're even dealing with the Hutts. I think they're kind of staying away from that because, the Nihil, for instance, they are the bad guys, and they're dealing in what they call the what we know as the Outer Rim. So they're out there doing their thing, and that's where the Hutts basically were out in their area. So they're out in what they call the frontier, where, like I said, which we know as the Outer Rim. So that's where like Tatooine is, for instance,
right
out in the Outer Rim. So at this point, the Outer Rim isn't really a part of the Republic because they haven't expanded to that level yet, where they were actually kind of having them all under one bubble.
So it's still kind of the frontier. Like, when we founded America, we were 13 colonies, and all the rest of America was just, this untamed country.
West.
Yeah. So that's cool. And it's cool that, Tatooine is still kind of the Wild West, because even though they're part of the, during the Skywalker saga, even though they're part of the Republic / the Empire, like, nobody goes out there. Why the heck am I going to go all the way out to Tatooine? Who cares? What's out there?
There's a pretty cool cantina out there.
Yeah, great one. Fan favorite. But so you mentioned the Nihil. So there's no Sith in this era, right? No Sith.
There's the reason why I kind of go because they're dealing with some things that are steeped deeply in the dark side. So the word Sith has never been uttered. But I take that back. I think they may have brought it up, but not in any term of like, this is a dark side wielder, like calling him a Sith Lord type thing. And right now, there is no like, to this point where we are in the novels that have been released. Mm-hmm. One by Charles Soule, and the other one by Claudia Gray.
Yeah.
If a book comes out by Claudia Gray, get it. There has not been a dud in the Star Wars, New Galaxy with Claudia Gray's name on it.
She is a great Star Wars author, that's for sure.
And crap, dude, you got me off when you got me.
As far as the Sith,
yeah.
It's my understanding, and maybe I'm incorrect, but like the Jedi and the Sith had like ancient wars, and the Sith were pretty much wiped out. That's how, like, on Exegol, like, all those Sith and stuff that were in the stadium and like chanting and stuff, they were like ancient, like, souls of Sith that were out there. And then the Jedi defeated the Sith, and they were gone for millennia. Like, they were gone during this time. And that's why in the the Phantom Menace, they're like, a Sith? What, are you crazy? And that's like, it was a big surprise for them, for the Sith to be back.
Okay. So when you mentioned that, there was a reason why 2,000 years was in my head.
Mm-hmm.
This was going to be a little like Star Wars nugget I was going to drop towards the end of the show, but let's go with it.
Yeah.
So, Coruscant. We know Coruscant as the home of the Republic.
Sure.
You know, we have the Jedi Temple there, but that wasn't always the case. 2,000 years prior to where we are now in the High Republic,
Mm-hmm.
it was controlled by the Sith or dark side users.
Oh, okay.
Come to find out, Coruscant is kind of like Jerusalem.
Oh,
That is like the home almost of, of the Force, in essence.
Boy, and that would have, how bad would that have made Palpatine mad for the Jedi Temple to be on Coruscant?
You want to hear something even cooler though? This I was listening to the book and I was like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah.
The Jedi Temple is built on top of an old Sith temple.
That I kind of did know. I think I did know, either reading from the comics or something. I know because there's a certain point, like post Revenge of the Sith, after Palpatine's completely taken over, where Darth Vader explores the Jedi Council or the Jedi Temple, but he goes like way down into the bowels and he accesses points where he wasn't allowed and no Jedi was allowed to go to, and there was like Sith artifacts and stuff down there. So that's something I did read about actually.
So the actual steps going up to the temple are the old temple steps for the Sith.
Wow.
And then the actual Jedi temple is built on top of it.
Right.
Which I was like, that is fantastic. I'll never be able to look at Coruscant the same way again.
Right.
Every time I look at it now, what we never got was what happened to the Jedi temple after Palpatine took over. Was it destroyed? Was something else built there? Was it just left to rot? What happened to it?
Yeah, that's a good point. What that even looks like by the time, A New Hope comes about 20 years later. My assumption was that Palpatine just kind of like made it a new Sith museum, and that's where he hung up the old dead Jedi lightsabers or something. But I don't know. You're right. Like, we don't really get a big indication as far as what that even looks like.
Yeah, so I thought that was a real cool nugget of information. Like, so, a little piece of trivia, you kind of burst my bubble. I didn't think you knew anything about it. But
well, you did some research, and you came about with a little bit of a presentation for us, right? Did you get some slides?
Freak out. Let's see what I can do here.
Let's start talking about us. Talking about the High Republic. There we go.
There it is. The Star Wars High Republic. Now, we already kind of talked a little bit about, the bad guys.
So that's a Nihil.
That's a Nihil. Now this is Martian Rowe. So he is called the Eye. So there is a hierarchy within the actual the Nihil. There's storms, there's strikes, and then there's clouds. And it all depends on how their actual ships are actually connected. And it's also like if you're in the military,
right?
Higher powers. Now, the crazy thing about these guys and their ships is they all interlock. So they're all one big ship. So when you say, for instance, the Empire shows up and they have their, their two Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
And so they say, we've got one massive dreadnought. Just to use the word dreadnought.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they turn into what they call themselves as the Cloud.
Oh.
So then they break off the ships, and then they have all these ships that these two, say, Star Destroyers had no idea were there.
Right.
And that's kind of how they fight their big battles. Now, they're not predominantly big battle, type of group of people right now. In the actual series. They are more marauders. They're more pirates. They'll go out and they'll try to kidnap a family, and knowing that they've got connections and money.
So they don't hold a big order like the Empire. They're not like the government like the Empire. They're more of a how many of them are there? Are they pretty prevalent? Are they spread throughout the galaxy? Or are they located in just a certain portion? They're
predominantly in the Outer Rim. But there is, they do have big, there's rules within. Like, say, for instance, Martian Rowe here is the Eye. He's the basically the main guy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 3 others that are with him, and they're basically the top, and then everyone works for them. Now, the cool thing with Ro is he has what I am thinking is possibly a chiss. I don't know this for 100% certainty. Only reason I say that is this person has the ability to plot courses through hyperspace without needing a computer.
Well, I'm just taking a look at this picture. It looks very much, now that you mention that, it looks like he's got some blue skin underneath of that clothing.
yeah, that's very true.
He's humanoid.
The helmet he's wearing is basically a gas mask.
Mm-hmm.
Because they use, that's kind of one of their go-tos. They'll use like gases and things like that to go ahead, because it's easy for them to go ahead and block. So we have this guy here, and this is kind of like what the rest of them will look like. They're humanoid. They're not humanoid. They're a mix of.
So there's a Twi'lek. There's a
looks like someone from
like a
Dathomir.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So it's not just one race. They grabbed species from all over the galaxy.
Dude, there was a really cool one that wound up dying, but he was a Gungan.
That's funny.
I thought he was awesome, but yeah. He didn't survive a battle. But so they're all wearing these masks, and I think it's Into the Darkness. They're all wearing them, and at the end of it, they all shed their masks. Like something happens, and they all pull them off. And their faces are their faces. I don't know if they're done with the masks or not, because I think it's strategically. It's not a bad idea to have.
Yeah.
But all their ships are also marked with like 3 blue strikes, like stripes on it. So they've got a very distinct, like, we know who you are, or if you come across them, they know who they are.
I do love the design of these guys, where it does look like ancient old Star Wars. Like, it's totally believable within the Star Wars galaxy, but like the clothing looks like these aren't like Imperial uniforms, like they're very dingy, dirty, put together. It almost looks like a video game, like Fallout, like post-apocalyptic kind of thing.
Yeah. And a lot of the times they're recruited into the Nihil. They're brought in. It's a family. So for instance, if a group goes out and say gets a big score, they split it. It's all split. So it's basically they're showing like, okay, we're doing it not for us, but we're doing it for everyone, for the Nihil.
Yeah. And
that's how it is. There's a little girl in the most recent book I just finished that was recruited. Her parents died. Well, no, we come to find we thought her parents died, but her parents actually went into it for the better for her daughter, and they became a part of it. And it's awesome to see the level that they're going. Now, there's also manipulation, because if we go back to Marchion Ro, he's controlling all of them because he has the eye. He controls the jobs. He controls where they go. And there's starting to become tension amongst the other ones with that, because his father was also, so he kind of came into that with what his power his father had. Now, this lady that's giving him the actual like destinations, the hyperspace passageways, she's getting older, and he's pushing her, and basically like she'll give them to him, and I think he's like logging them. That's kind of information I'm gathering from the books that I've been through. So when she does die, he still has power because he has all these passageways still. And that's really their biggest, like one of their biggest like weapons against anybody, like for instance the Republic, because they're plotting and they've got to go this way. Now one line will go this way, another one will go this way, so there's always that chance of a possible issue. I'm gonna see something real fast here. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, during this era, how integrated are the Jedi with the Republic? Because by the time their prequels ran around, it's like the Jedi and the Republic were like hand in hand. They were almost like, they were generals in the army, pretty much. Like they were like too closely connected. I feel like the Jedi kind of lost their way from being just, guardians that would be separate to like just full forced, part of the government. How is that how it is now in the High Republic era?
They're pretty like connected, but not. It's like they've got things that they can do. They work hand in hand. So I think there's a little more separation, between what we knew and what they are at this point in Star
Right.
Wars history. So they still had the freedom to kind of do as they went when they go. So they're not really generals, but if they're needed to keep the peace, like if they're needed to go somewhere and like bring like organization and law to an area, that's why they're being a part of this actual what they're calling the Starlight Beacon. And they're putting Starlight Beacons out there. Now, I got ahead of myself a little bit because of the question you asked, but when I was mentioning like the hyperspace travel, and they're kind of going against the grain compared to what the computers are doing, there was an actual catastrophe with it. And this is how we learn about the Nihil in the first book. It opens up with it's called the Legacy Run, going through a hyperspace lane. It's just a bunch of passengers. It's just no, not a battleship, just a transport.
Yeah.
And one of the Nihil ships are going like opposite direction of them. They're coming credit. They ran the red light.
Right.
And the Legacy Run can see that there was going to be a collision. So what winds up happening is the actual commander of the ship tries to go ahead and maneuver within hyperspace, and the ship actually becomes ripped apart.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, all of this ship is coming out of hyperspace and going into a different system. Now, these pieces are going towards planets, moons, and now this is when the Jedi get involved. And okay, how are we going to go ahead and prevent mass casualties by this ship smashing into a world going, darn near light speed or hyperspeed?
Okay, so you had a huge ship that belonged to the Republic.
Yes,
that was traveling.
It was just part of the Republic. Yeah.
Okay, so it was traveling through hyperspace. He tried to literally like steer his way out while he was in the hyperspace lane, and you know that from Star Wars when they jump to hyperspace, they're in like you see the vortex in front of the Falcon or whatever, and so he tried to steer his way out, and the ship just like ripped apart, and now you've got like debris just flying at hyperspeed speeds like in all directions.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
they're all
crazy.
going in there. Then you have Jedi. Actually, it's pretty cool because in that instance, there's instances where all the Jedi that are either on a ship, on the planet, in their own little like ships, all connecting their mind together and using the Force to be able to direct or pull one of these pieces just 10 feet away from where it's going, so they can go ahead and it can avoid something. And the amount of like stress and connection that they all have, it's fun to see the actual power of a Jedi, because we see like inklings, but knowing that some of them can actually levitate, some of them can have the ability to we know mind control, but it's not. Some of them don't. Some of them just flat out can't do it. Not every Jedi can wave their hand and say these aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yeah.
Which it's cool to see the differences in all these Jedi.
That is cool. And to think like, I don't know, if you think about the Force, when the prequels came out, I think we were meant to think that we were about to view like the prime of the Jedi with young Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and stuff, which they were powerful. And it's certainly a better representation than just, old Yoda and old Obi-Wan in the original trilogy. See him jumping around and high intensity lightsaber battles. But even then, if you start thinking about the Force itself was falling out of their, I guess, not their control, but it was balancing itself out to more like moving towards the dark side a bit because of the Palpatine's efforts. And Yoda, that's something that Yoda felt and was connected to like the entire time through the prequels, like how they couldn't see Palpatine right under their noses. Like there were just certain things where like the Force is almost like betraying them in a certain way because it was kind of like slipping through their fingers a bit. So to see Jedi where we're still hundreds of years before the Sith come back and start leeching that power back from the Force to their side. It's I guess we would see all sorts of Jedi powers that we probably haven't seen before.
Yeah. And it's awesome. But get back. I'm going to bring this guy back in here because this was a fun new villain that they brought in.
Oh, he's ugly.
Yeah, they're called the Drangir, and they were actually out on a ship Like basically, okay, so book 1 happened, the big disaster, happened. Book 2 is happening basically when they go ahead and shut down all the hyperspace lanes. So they went down and shut everything down because they didn't know if hyperspace was safe to travel in. So there was a few ships out there with a couple Jedi. They were heading out to where the Starlight Beacon is going to be, which I've got lined up here for us. But they wind up at this other Maxine station. And it's basically an old space station that's been abandoned in a system that, the sun is actually getting so big, or the star, it's going to eliminate everything in the area anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So these guys, we don't know they're on the station yet. They're in like an area where it's kind of like a forested area. There's little droids that are going around and it's pruning and keeping this like real like forested type center set up, and they're blended right in. We have no idea they're there.
Yeah.
And then there's a big event that happens, and all of a sudden they come to life. Or there's actually like I don't want to give the books away too much, but there are like statues on the station, and the Jedi there sense the dark side in them. And they're like, okay, we need to go ahead and seal these with this like some type of force like they're able to use to go ahead and seal them to make them safe to be able to travel back to Coruscant.
Yeah.
Come to find out, they were there to imprison these guys. They were meant to basically conceal them, and so they couldn't move.
Oh, so these Dark Force statues were there to protect everybody from these things.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Whoops.
And so when they, yeah, exactly. And that was a big whoops. And they realized, they're like, oh, and they also, they woke up, and you can't, they were slicing them with their lightsabers, and they weren't feeling anything. It's like the limbs would grow right back.
Right.
There was no beating them. And they eventually what they wound up doing is making the little droids that were like pruning everything, keep everything nice, making them think that they were destroying things. And then the droids basically attacked them. They were able to get out of dodge. But there's a whole other planet of these. There's a whole other planet of these creatures that are out there. So the Drangir could become a bigger player later, in this time frame. And we can hear them speak. I don't know if it's not like, it's probably not a basic, but they may be able to, translate whatever it is. But they see them as meat, fresh meat. They just want to eat these Jedi. Like 2 Jedi actually leave the station in pods, and one of them they thought died. They thought he was basically incinerated because he went into an area, but no, he actually got into a pod and it shot him off to the Drangir's like home planet, and then he's going mentally insane there before he comes back. It was, these guys are going to be interesting. I can kind of see where the Nihil are going.
Yeah.
I can understand what basically a pirate is out there with just a little more power, a little more greed.
Right.
Another alien species is fun.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's always fun to meet new aliens. What about, so how many books have they put out in this era?
They put out 2 adult novels so far.
Okay.
But they have a young adult novel out, which I have, but I haven't read yet. And I think there's 2 comics. I think there's a total of 5 pieces of like literature out so far.
Okay, so there is a line of High Republic comics that are coming out. Oh, that's interesting. See, I might be into that.
Yeah, so they've got that going.
I wonder if they cross over with characters that are in the novels at all.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, good.
Because of the information I've seen prior, we got that little video there, but there was a video that was put out a while back where it shows basically all the authors that are going to be doing this, all at Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah.
And they said, have at it. Go ahead and connect things. This is your baby. You guys have done us right in the past. We trust you to keep us moving forward.
Right.
So they went ahead and did all this, and it was that was cool to see. So if they're going to give them, I don't want to say carte blanche, because it's still got to be getting approval, and then it's got to make sense.
Yeah.
As much as Star Wars can make sense.
Right.
But
they've been real good about keeping continuity. Because you've got 9 movies, 3 different trilogies, and on all the stories that interconnect and go in between those movies, plus just the different eras. Like they've done, and all the different mediums. You got the video game stories, you've got the animated series, you got the movies themselves, you got the novels, you've got. So far, they've done a heck of a job during the Skywalker saga and that era to keep things like without continuity bumping into each other, and disagreeing with one another. So if they're starting fresh with brand new stories, that won't be as much of a headache on their side, but they can continue with that same effort of like interconnecting these stories during this era too.
Well, I think the biggest problem with the Skywalker saga was the novels. The novels didn't actually intertwine. The games didn't really intertwine so much. I mean, a lot of people have a gripe with what Disney's doing with it, but the best thing that Disney's done with it, as like you just said, it's all one story. So you have all the movies, and then what they did is they went ahead and got rid of all the book, the extended universe, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then they brought it all back, and they're bringing it where it's connected, where you can read one book, and then you'll get a connection to another book, or a name will be dropped in one book.
Right.
I read Phasma's story, and a character from Phasma fell into the book about Batuu and Galaxy's Edge. So there's names and characters that are all over the place. If they're Empire characters, and if they hold some type of rank, they're gonna bounce around. Now, if it's an everyday just kind of ensign and he shows up, that's when I may have an issue if he's showing up too much, because there's thousands of them.
Right.
But if it's someone of note, I've got no problem, because we were talking about it last week, how some people were like, you know what, too many characters are showing up and they're making the series too small.
Yeah.
I read an article about the Bad Batch, and that was their argument. They're by bringing characters in, they're making this galaxy even smaller, and I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I do too, because Bad Batch, all we've seen thus far is Tarkin, and like, why the heck wouldn't Tarkin be doing exactly what he's doing? Like,
well, they were also mentioning about like Kanan Jarrus and his master, and but it's like, you know what? They're connecting. What they're doing is they're connecting everything. Everything is going to be connected in some manner.
Yeah, that rang okay for me, because it's also, not only is this, it would be appropriate because we know that did happen to Kanan. He was part of, Order 66, but like, this is like Filoni's baby, you know what I mean? So Filoni likes to borrow characters that he's created in other stuff and show, that's fine. People are so uptight.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
But so we have the Drengir here, and let's see. Right. I'm not even sure who's next here.
So they're pretty crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so I just went basically into the knights. Basically,
so you probably know who all these people are, don't you?
I've got a sense of who some of them are. Seeing that it's the books, it's hard to actually put faces and things with them. So I went forward. Okay, this was the first one to start. Okay, so this is Starlight Beacon. This is the first one they're putting out there. They're putting this out there in the frontier. This is kind of like their space station that's going to be out there for Hope. They want everyone.
Space station out in the frontier, which we know as the Outer Rim. So they don't call it the Outer Rim back in this time. No. They call it the front. They actually call it the frontier.
The frontier.
Okay.
So there are plans for 3 of these. This one plus 2 more. And
these are Jedi controlled?
No. This is
Republic
Republic control, but there is say a Jedi overseer.
Right.
So there's going to be like one head Jedi that's going to be actually assigned to each of them.
I see.
And this is where the Nihil really come into it. So they don't want this to happen, because the further reach that the Republic has, the more of a danger they are to the Nihil.
Right.
So they're trying to go ahead and stop this from happening.
They're bringing order.
Order and peace to the galaxy.
Yeah. But like, the good kind of order and peace, not the overbearing kind like the Empire.
So this Orla Jelani, she is actually you guys probably aren't going to read it. She was going to be the Jedi that was going to be running this first Starlight Beacon.
Okay. Orange Julius. Gotcha.
Okay. But she died in a battle in the first book.
Oh
So
well.
she was a pilot, I think it was, and something happened. She was connecting with another Jedi to try to do something, and she winds up dying. Which I was flabbergasted. I was like, she was like the one of the main characters in that book.
Yeah.
And they had me like, okay, cool. Okay, you know what? She's awesome. We're good. She's one of the stronger ones. And she died. I'm like, oh,
She was the
well,
Qui-Gon.
yeah, essentially, yeah. I mean, it was, to me, one of the biggest things I've liked so far about this new era is the same thing I liked about, say, like, was it, no, this HBO series,
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. It didn't matter who you were.
Yeah.
You could die in that timeline.
I know I was going to say Eddard Stark, but I felt Qui-Gon was more appropriate example.
but yeah, I mean that's kind of what I was going. Is like, if what we learned as for Star Wars and Jedi is like, what, outside of Qui-Gon, I mean, yeah, Obi-Wan dies, okay,
Takes a
and
long
then
time.
yeah, and I mean Yoda dies of old age.
Yeah.
So it's like
Obi-Wan
Jedi.
dies, but he also doesn't die because he comes back as a blue glowy ghost in the other two movies, so not
Yeah.
really.
So I mean, we don't know death within the Jedi Order,
Right.
and seeing like some Jedi die in the book that are significant to other characters. But I love her lightsaber.
You like that?
And it's a double. It's hilted too, so she can flip it, and it becomes double bladed. So she can fight with it like that, or she can connect it into like a double bladed, like a Darth Maul-ish type thing.
I'm just wondering how the heck you fight it like with that. Like I can see maybe the two blades. You can get another blade, kind of like a Raphael Sai or something. You can catch the sword and twist it. But like, if you're fighting with that hilt, aren't you just like fighting it with like? How do you grab on one-handed to that thing?
You probably just hold on to one hilt by itself,
Maybe, I don't know.
and
Seems
then
weird to me.
she'll use the Force.
Yeah.
But here is one of the main main characters. I think he's gonna be a main thread throughout a lot of the books. Ruth Silas here,
Ruth
because
Silas.
he was her Padawan, and he
Okay.
wasn't with her when she died. And he grew up on Coruscant. He is a history buff. He just wants to be in the books. He wants to learn things. He was fighting tooth and nail when basically she told him that they're being sent to the Outer Rim, or the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
And he didn't like it.
West.
And he didn't like it. He didn't want to do it.
What was the Starlight Beacon? Is that what it's called?
Starlight Beacon. He was going to go out there, but he was also going to go out to the what was I saying it was called?
I don't know.
Okay, screw it. We'll roll on. But yeah, so we have him, and we see his struggles, like when she dies, and there's other Jedi that just struggle with it. And I see one of the Jedi, I can't think of his name. Now he's cool. Loden Greatstorm. He's one that struggled with it. There was a death, and he's like, why are we not allowed to grieve? Why can't we grieve our own?
Right.
And I hope I'm quoting that right about it being him. But he starts questioning the Jedi Council. There's a lot of things he's questioning, like, why can't I do this? Why can't I grieve for my Padawan? He thought his Padawan died. One of the ones that got shut off to the Drangir world.
Right.
Like, I've had him for so long. He's basically my son. Why can I not? There's no way there's not going to be an attachment.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of stuff that pushed Anakin into Vader. Like it's the stuff they needed to cut out. So that stuff was even going on back then, as far as this Jedi code of attachments.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean that's as deep as the Jedi, the no attachments thing.
So there is a real demarcation point here, demarcation point, with Luke's New Order and Rey going forward. So I wish the sequels would have been better, because they could have told that story better, because like the Jedi, like the whole point of the prequels, which even the prequels, it's lost on people. Like the Jedi are portrayed as these heroes and things kind of crash down around them, but it's like very much like they had a lot to do with their own downfall,
Yeah.
which kind of goes by the wayside. So that's what I was hoping to get out of the sequel trilogy, is like, man, we made a lot of bad mistakes. Let's just hope this new this new recruit in Rey does things different than how we did it, because the new school needs to learn from the old school, but also learn the mistakes of the old school, that kind of thing. I wish I don't know, that's kind of tough to give out, but that's one of the failings of the sequels. I don't want to talk about the sequels.
So I'll pull it out for a second. Oh, hey, I-O. So this is the gentleman that I was telling you about that got pulled off to the Drengir world.
Oh, he's got a little dragon Doberman thing.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool. That's nowhere in the books, but
it's concept art.
It's concept art. We'll give him that much. But yeah, he got pulled away, and they thought he died. And they're supposed to be like the Drengir tried to pit the two Jedi against each other, to fight to the death. And luckily, Ruth, he said he paid attention in sparring class, even though he didn't like it, because Bell here is a lot better with the lightsaber than he is, but he was able to kind of break through to him.
Bell Zettifar.
Yep.
Okay.
So
I like the little designs, like the splash of color on these Jedi. It's done with the old different shades of brown. They're actually throwing some golds and blacks and colors in there. That's nice.
Well, they've got like a dress, like uniformish.
Yeah.
They've got like their robes, where they're like their day robes walking around, and then they have like their their robes when they're going into like formal events.
Right.
So they got a few, so people know what to expect from them by what they're wearing.
I see.
But they still drop them like we know it.
Right.
And they let them fall to their feet, and they're like, it's like game on. Let me see, who do I have here next? I'm not even sure who's next here. Scare. He's cool. He's just, a Tridoshan.
Yeah.
That's a Jedi. And it's
and
he's a Jedi. He's a master now at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like he had the same. I think Orgelani was his master. So he's struggling with her death, along with Reef. So there's some connections amongst other Jedi to this one master who has passed, who's become one with the Force.
Right.
But yeah, he's strong. He's pretty badass. Which is,
I actually like that saber hilt quite a bit.
Oh,
that's
yeah, how
nice.
you have the hook there, and
kind of the copper and gold colors and stuff. That's nice.
I like seeing every lightsaber being their own.
Yeah.
Every lightsaber is supposed to be unique. Every lightsaber is supposed to be from where they're from.
Right.
Like if there's a Jedi that's a Wookiee, his lightsaber is made out of one of the trees from Kashyyyk.
Sure.
So that's what his hilt is made out of. So
yeah.
Oh,
this is the emptiness of space in the High Republic.
There we go. That was it. Well, I mean,
was that the end of your presentation?
That was really anticlimactic in the way that finished.
Gosh, I wanted to learn more.
Oh, wait, we can take it off. But yeah, dude, if you guys haven't really gotten into this yet, if you're just all, the books, not books, I mean just the movies, because some people just consider the movies to be canon, and there's still arguments among Star Wars fans, what's canon, what's not. It's not an argument. They flat out came out and said, this is, what's canon, what's not.
This is what's coming. If you're a Star Wars fan, but you're kind of casual, you're just like, oh, I love Luke and Obi-Wan, and you don't get into everything. Like me and Chris get into everything pretty much. And Chris is even ahead of me with this High Republic stuff. But I know this is where Star Wars is going. We're going to have fun with our Mandalorian. They're done making, movies connected to the Skywalker saga, I think. We may get one here or there, but this era is where things are going. I think, honestly, the Rian Johnson trilogy they keep talking about. I think the David Benioff and Weiss, the creators of Game of Thrones, which you mentioned, they were connected to a new trilogy at one point. I think this is where the movies are heading, and this is definitely where like the video games, comics, novels, all the ancillary media around Star Wars is already heading to. And I made my claim a couple weeks ago. I think when they finally release a big Star Wars sandbox video game that they've been promising forever and ever, I think it's going to take place during this era, because it just makes a heck of a lot more sense to, instead of starting to negate things and bump into continuity around the Skywalker saga, just free yourself of all that and take place in this era. And according to what you've shown me so far, I think they make a heck of a cool video game with all that kind of stuff.
Easily, and you can create your own Jedi.
Yeah,
I mean, so simply, and they can actually do it. Kind of, if you think of it in the mindset of like a sporting game, you can make yourself They can start you as a Padawan.
yeah,
And then make you earn knighthood and masterhood, and then work towards possibly getting on the council. I mean, things like that. Like if you walk that straight in line, you can actually achieve, the ability to join the council.
I would love. You know how you have character creation in the beginning, where typically, you like shape your character's face into different things to make your character look a certain way. I would love to do that, but I would also love to like create my own lightsaber hilt. Just like design it with different metals, make it look a certain way, a certain blade color and stuff. That would be BA, man.
Well, if they did that though, they can't just make it humanoid. They have to open you up. Like if I wanted to be, a
Trandoshan,
or Trandoshan,
right,
or a Twi'lek, or you know what I mean, something, any of those, it would be awesome to go ahead and do it, because I think your force sensibility should revolve around what type of like creature you decide to be.
Yeah.
So they all probably have different levels of connection to the Force in some way.
Right. Well, that's a heck of a presentation you gave us there, pal. You went all PowerPoint on us.
Dude, and next time we'll get the chess. No.
Yeah. That's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother ball of wax, isn't it?
Oh yeah, dude. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Like I'm going through and honestly, I understand why some people don't get into the books, because if you're listening to them, they're 14 hours. And if you're not driving to and from places anymore,
yeah,
when do you have a chance to listen to, an hour a book? Now, if your commute is an hour to and from work every day, you'll cut through that 14-hour book quickly.
Right.
But if your commute is from your bed to the basement, per se, you won't have a chance. Yeah, no, not a whole lot of time at all. And it's hard to listen to a book or something like that and not be going somewhere or really doing something. Even if you're like doing yard work, it's hard to listen to a book.
Yeah, anything that's going to take you, like driving, when people drive, they get into this zone where they're able to like drive and also like pay attention to what's on the radio and stuff. But when you're doing something that takes a lot of thought, like a gardening, like where you have to think a lot, then it kind of takes you out from active listening, which stinks.
Yeah, because I've had at times where I put my headphones in and just laid in bed and just kind of closed my eyes and just listened. Because it does. If there's one great thing about these books, is essentially they're movies. That's why they're 14 hours long. They give you voice acting for every character. They give you sound effects. They give you, it's all encompassing. It's not just like Mark Hamill just sitting down and reading the book to you, which a lot of people I think still think it is. It's just one person.
So these audiobooks that you've been listening to, like the different characters have different voices and stuff?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're full productions.
They're like radio dramas then.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, that's exactly what they are.
Oh, that's neat.
So it's easy to get to know, like it's through the Thrawn books. Thrawn is the same. And then you have other characters that come in that have their own distinct voice.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, you've convinced me. If our little exercise this evening, our dedicated high voltage episode to the High Republic, you've convinced me I'm definitely going to check out the comics.
There's at least a couple of them out already. If not two, I'm pretty sure they have been released already.
I'm going to get them on Comixology, read them on my tablet. And I may just because I've got some extra Audacity credits, they just build up every month. I may go ahead and just get the audiobooks here of the High Republic series. So what are the names of the novels that you've read thus far?
Okay, so the two that I have read, I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to bring up my phone. Oh, that's the wrong one. So I have read Into the Darkness. That's by Claudia Gray.
Was that the first one to come out?
Like these two came out pretty much the same time.
Okay.
Let me see. I mean, it is important to read them in a certain order too.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So Light of the Jedi, I believe, is the first one you want to read.
I think it is, yeah.
By Charles Soule.
Right.
And then Into the Darkness is with Claudia Gray. And they're the two big ones right now. And then the young adult book is A Test of Courage. That's a shorter one. That's a 4-hour one. So I may do that one on my trip to Disney. Like in the plane to and from, just kind of have it in. May not be a whole lot of paying attention to, but to be like enough to be like, okay, I get the gist of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. All right. Hey, thanks for your High Republic 101.
There we go. Now, like I said, if I get you here, I'm going to have to get you with the Chiss, because the Chiss in Thrawn is as good as this has been.
Yeah. That's
a different galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, you start going off the rails when it comes to the Chiss.
Okay, guys. So, Sean, we didn't even tell them what we were in the beginning. You want to give us a wrap up here?
No, we went right into it. I mean, if you're watching us, I assume you know who the heck we are, but we're Dadnarok. We're famous. We got a YouTube channel, dang it. We're a couple of dads in the Midwest. We talk about all kinds of things. We do an after show typically Friday nights. Right now we're doing our High Voltage show, which is our kind of our vlog series. But beyond that, we do after shows to, big shows that have come out. Mandalorian, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, where you got one coming up in June for Loki. So you can check those out. And we do an audio podcast that's available on every podcasting platform, including Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcast, everything. So yeah, check us out. And if you haven't already gone to our YouTube page, search Dadnarok on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe and like our videos. It helps out that channel tremendously.
Yeah, and drop a comment if you like the High Republic, or if you got issues with it, or whatever it is. Let us know about it. And if you want us to do a Chiss one about Thrawn and everything, I can talk over Sean's head again. I got no problem with it.
And if you don't want us to do one, too bad, because we're probably going to do it anyway.
It's probably coming. We need filler. Okay, guys. Well, until next Friday, I'll just go ahead and say, you want to keep it cheesy.